A single lamp burns over an oak desk, and a magnifier hunts the small betrayals that tell a forger from an honest hand. This is a document authentication lab late at night. But tonight the page under the glass is not paper. It is your own memory. And you are the subject whose past I have been asked to check. Not a claim that your life is a fraud, a thought experiment held up to the light. So we test it. Ludwig Boltzmann showed that order is just statistics. A random jumble can, by chance, fall for a moment into a rare arrangement, which means rarity is never quite impossibility. Then, in 1931, Arthur Eddington did the accounting. Assembling one ordered mind from chaos, he reasoned, is far likelier than assembling a whole galaxy of stars. One brain is cheap. A cosmos costs the universe everything it has. Welcome to the impossible archive, where history meets its own evidence. To learn whose memory really lies under this lamp, we start with a deck of cards that should not have fallen into order, and yet did. So we return to the deck and to a colder question. How do you catch a fluctuation from inside one? You cannot expose a forgery by staring at the forgery alone. You need a second witness the forger could not reach. In the authentication lab, that witness is chemistry. You do not trust the signature, you date the ink. Physics has the same cross-check, and its author is Richard Feynman. He turned Boltzmann around. A chance fluctuation need only build what you directly observe, no more. So look past the lab, past your own hands, to the deep sky. If your world were a lucky accident, that far dark should dissolve into noise. It does not. The cosmic background radiation, that oldest light, is smooth and ordered everywhere. A signature no cheap fluctuation would pay to forge. The method holds. Still, the expert sets the magnifier down. Not enough evidence yet to close the file. Here is the part that should have closed the case. The cross-check we just used, dating the ink instead of trusting the signature, is not some fringe trick of mine. It is mainstream physics, the same reasoning astronomers use to read the oldest light. A test only counts if the people who disagree with you already accept the method. So the young clerk who logs my findings reaches to close the file that is you, the subject whose past is under review. Every check the sky owed us, it paid. That was meant to settle it. Case shut. Sign it and go home. But I keep my hand flat on the folder. Read the fine print with me. Tonight the sky is ordered. Nobody in this room has checked tomorrow. Space never fully stops fluctuating, and rare is not the same as impossible. Could patience alone build a smooth sky, a clean mind, this very room? So the signature on this verdict needs a date stamped next to it. Follow that thread, because if the sky can quietly stop testing true, then the case we thought was closed was only sleeping. So my assistant stamps a date beside the signature, and the file starts growing instead of closing. A new sheet slides in dated 1998. Two teams of astronomers, measuring how fast the universe was slowing, found the opposite. The expansion was speeding up. In 2011, the Nobel Committee signed off on it. Check that signature yourself. It is on the public record, not on my word. They named the push dark energy. If that push never runs out, space never winds down into stillness. It settles into a de Sitter vacuum that keeps expanding and never fully goes quiet. So it never stops fluctuating. Rarity survives one lifetime. It does not survive forever. A single mind with a full false past is the void's easy trick. A coin the dark keeps flipping to the same face, no world beneath it. So the cheap outcome wins, over and over. One true original sinks under an ocean of accidental minds. And just how far the count tilts against you, the Commission has not yet read into the record. Every real record risks the same flood. Countless false copies filed under its name. How far the tally tilts is a number. so a committee sits down to read it. Guesswork ends here. The next line on the page is a real result from a real paper. In 2002, 3 of them ran the arithmetic: Dyson, Kleban, and Susskind. A paper you can pull up tonight. They put the fear we've circled, a vacuum that never stops fluctuating, into an equation instead of a shiver. Over infinite time, a lone mind with a false past outnumbers a whole ordered universe by a margin the page can name. But a count with no name is hard to prosecute. Then, in 2004, Albrecht and Sorbo named it a Boltzmann brain, stamping the old theorist onto the very fluctuation his own statistics implied 100 years late. A label on a box says nothing about what the box weighs. The committee has the title and the count. It has not yet said the two aloud together. That reckoning they are preparing right now. Bring both files together, and the lamp narrows from the long table down to a single page. It belongs to Don Page, 2006. Check the author's name against mine. Page did the harder sum. Not how many false minds the void makes, but how many against every real observer who ever lived. The two counts, side by side. And it is not close. For each genuine mind, the void spins up accidents wearing a borrowed past. By Page's own count, about 1 per Google years. A 1 with 100 zeros behind it. It sounds like comfort. Given forever, it is not. So a mind drawn at random is almost certainly a fake, and the genuine article is the long shot. But an honest figure is not a verdict. The committee finished counting the forgeries and never once pointed to the original. If the fakes are the rule, on what grounds does the assistant trust the file in his hands? The count is settled, the verdict is not. And the next voice to speak decides which one you are. The last chair at the table belongs to cosmologist Sean Carroll. He turned the tally against itself. A theory that says you are a random mind has just told you your own reasoning cannot be trusted, the reasoning that built it. It swallowed its own tail. So a sound account has to rule the scenario out by logic, not wave it away. And Carroll does not lean on the deep sky to save you. That witness already recanted. Because dark energy keeps space fluctuating and, given forever, rare stops meaning real. Trust the theory and you must distrust the very reasoning that built it, so it cannot stand. It falls on its own logic, not on the stars. The file passes. The magnifier comes back down over that first page, and the second signature under the first is not the sky at all. It is the theory refuting itself, testifying that a mind able to weigh this case is a mind that was really here to reason. A forgery you cannot expose by staring at it alone can still be cleared by a witness who was never asked to lie. So the verdict on your memory does not hinge on tonight's sky. A self-refuting story stays refuted, whatever the stars ever do next. The case opened in that first lamp-lit room is closed. Your memory clears, not because a rare sky vouched for it, but because the doubt that accused it cannot stand without trusting the very mind it called a fake. So doesn't that make your memory the one thing that just passed inspection? Another case already waits. A document that claims to remember a flood that drowned the world. This is the impossible archive, where history meets its own evidence.